Welcome to Ground Production. Here is some interesting topic. There are many stories in Hollywood that ended up scandalous due to their awful and extraordinary nature. One such story is the adventure of Bruce and Brandon Lee, a father and child group who both rose to incredible statures sometime recently, encountering extraordinary tragedy. In spite of the fact that they met their particular closes decades separated from each other, they are until the end of time associated within the minds of fans all over. For military expressions fans and those who take after pop culture, Bruce Lee and Brandon Lee are in an association of their own. Lee's son Brandon died from a horrific accident on the set of The Crow. ESPN captures Lee's life within the frame of sound bites by companions and family, coupled with a few uncommon film fare, so there's more of Lee on screen, something the new gen has seen less of. And it works. Lee chips in with a few of his recorded lines, discussions and letters that appear an unused layer of the man. The most center, in spite of the fact that is on the Minority Prejudice Lee went through while attempting to cement a career in Hollywood within the early 60s. Call it sheer timing because it fair coincides with the tumult the nation is going through right presently within the wake of George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery's death. How did Bruce Lee die? Bruce Lee died at the height of his fame, at the age of only 32. The circumstances around his death remain controversial to this day. In early 1973, Bruce Lee collapsed while working on a film and was rushed to the hospital. Doctors diagnosed Lee with cerebral edema, and he remained hospitalized for several days until he stabilized. Upon his release, it was business as usual for Bruce Lee, until a couple of months later, when he was visiting a friend in Hong Kong. According to reports, Bruce Lee had been complaining of ill health and went to lie down for a nap at his friend's home. After a couple of hours, his friend went to try to wake him, but Bruce Lee couldn't be roused. Paramedics were called to the scene and pronounced Bruce Lee dead. Coroner's reports later noted that Bruce Lee had suffered the same brain swelling that had plagued him earlier in the year, which could possibly have been exacerbated by drug consumption. Brandon Lee died in a freak accident. Lee's death made a huge impact on the world, and fans everywhere mourned. No one was more heartbroken than Lee's own family, including his young son, Brandon Lee, who was only 8 years old when his father passed on. Brandon Lee followed in his father's footsteps and began a career in martial arts as well as in acting. After toiling in action films for the first few years of his career, Brandon Lee scored the leading role in the 1993 film, The Crow. During the filming of The Crow, Brandon Lee suffered a fatal accident. While filming a scene where Brandon Lee's character is shot and killed by a group of assassins, the prop gun was improperly prepared, causing Lee to get hit with a live round. Brandon Lee was rushed to the hospital, where paramedics desperately tried to save him, but he ultimately passed away in 1993 at the age of only 28. The tragic, early death of Brandon Lee reminded many of the ways that Bruce Lee had passed away. Brandon Lee was buried next to his father, and their joint gravesite draws thousands of people every year. While the two stars are long gone, they are still remembered by people all over the world, including Brandon Lee's sister, Shannon Lee. ESPN's new Bruce Lee documentary, Be Water, must watch. Look at racism in Hollywood. Be Water. Review. ESPN's Bruce Lee docu is transparent and has a seamless story, just like the star's motto. If anything, this was probably a glimpse of the star's life that shows the new generation that he was more than that shredded action man he's fondly remembered for. Be Water, which premieres Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time on ESPN, is directed by Bao Nguyen and named after a saying Lee used to share: empty your mind, be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water in a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend. Thank you for watching. Hope you had a great time. See you soon in next video.